welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Time Report Podcast. We got a lot to talk about in the game recap versus the New Orleans Saints. We're going to talk about Cameron Ward, how I feel about his progress, talk about 3 positive takeaways that I saw in this game as well. And also, we're going to be talking about a special announcement. Some of y'all are going to be wondering what we're going to be doing in the show. Starting out with that, number one, we're talking about the show is we're going to keep going with the show, but we have 1 episode per week. So how it's going to go is we're going to do 1 episode every Sunday at high noon. We've done this before in the past, done this a lot in the off season. Now we're going to keep it going. In the off season, though, we're going to talk about a lot about the NFL. We're going to talk about some Titans history. We're going to look up a lot about that. Also, we're talking about the National Preds. We might talk about a little baseball in there. Whatever y'all want, whatever it's going to be in the show. Number 2, the next announcement is this will be the last week doing 2 episodes. And also, Sunday's episode is going to be a little bit late. I'm going to Jacksonville, Florida for 1 day only to watch the Titans versus the Jags. Yes, it's the last game of the season. We're going to the Jags game versus the Titans. I'm very excited. I'm sitting on the Titans away side. I'm very, very excited. I've never seen the Titans in an away stadium before. And this will be the 4th stadium I'm checking off my list. Yes, I'm checking off the LA Coliseum. And I'm checking off SoFi and obviously Nissan Stadium. We will do a little vlog, which will be pretty fun, which will be traveling my day, which will let you guys know from start to finish. We still do not know, confirm the date's not confirmed. It's going to be on the 4th, it seems like, but we'll probably find out during Sunday Night Football or either Monday morning. Also, we don't know the time yet, but I'll be going there no matter what. I'm very excited, though. Very, very excited. So we do want to start off and talk about my 3 positive takeaways in this game, and then we're going to go down the list. All right, to start out, number 1, Jeffrey Simmons with 10 sacks this season. Jeffrey Simmons, who has been injured a lot and who's playing mostly a backup role for the first couple seasons he got here in Nashville before Jurrell Casey got traded to Denver, and Jeffrey Simmons took that spot. It's so good to see Jeffrey Simmons get 10 sacks in a season. It feels really good to see him building that momentum and him getting better week by week. I will say this, though, about Jeffrey Simmons. He is the first player since J.J. Watt on defense to have 10 sacks and 1 touchdown on offense in a season. Jeffrey Simmons is going to earn a contract extension very, very soon. He has 2 years remaining on the deal. Should the Titans get it done sooner than later? That's a question we're going to head to in the offseason little preview. But yes, Jeffrey Simmons is one of the stars in this game. Number 2, Cameron Ward. Now, everything that happened with Cameron Ward, Cam Ward made some ridiculous and a lot of throws today. Yes, number 1, that shin was down when he threw that shovel pass series, but it still was an insane pass just to get out there. Cam Ward was going to the ground. He made a Patrick Mahomes play. You know, and the thing that I look at here is if that was a Mahomes, if Mahomes did that, that would be on SportsCenter everywhere. Cam Ward being not talked enough a lot on social media, it feels so good to see him starting to make those throws, and it's really ridiculous. But Cam Ward made a lot of nice, risky, gutsy, good plays today, and I saw that from him. I think he's starting to build that momentum into the future. He did turn the ball as a fumble, which it should have been down, I feel like, in my opinion. I don't care what anybody says. I felt like that play that Cam Ward did fumble the ball and lose it. So looking at that play again with Cam Ward earlier in the game with the elbow, him losing the fumble, I think that elbow was down. It was tough to tell with the camera angles, but it looked like to me that elbow was just down before he lost the ball. I have to check that out again, but really big bummer. Cam Ward, that was the only turnover he lost, but still another game, the 5th consecutive game in a row with 2 or more touchdowns. He's building things. Also, Cameron Ward, the first quarterback since Ryan Tannehill in 2021 to have 3,000 yards in a season. Cameron Ward has the most passing yards as a Titans rookie in the franchise. Yes, over guys like Steve McNair, like Vince Young and Jake Locker, all those guys you're thinking about right now. Cam Ward is the first rookie in Titans history to get 3,000 yards in a year. Like we mentioned last episode, Mariota was the last guy who had 2,818 yards. Big improvements coming. Number 3, Tony Pollard running the ball significantly well. Now, here's the thing. On the stat sheet, it didn't look great as many fans wanted to see, but it was so good to see Tony Pollard get on the ground and just move, and he's looking great. In the last couple weeks, he looks great. Tony Pollard is another Titan now who has had 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons 2 of them with the Titans. That is momentum builder to next year. And everybody, I think that's one player the Titans should keep on that roster for next season. All right, so now we're going to talk about one player on free agency that I think the Tennessee Titans need to absolutely do their minds and think about retaining in free agency. That is tight end Chig Okonkwo. Chig Okonkwo, who on stat sheets does not really look like he's had a good year, but overall wise he has. Last couple weeks he's really been upcoming and upsurging. He's been one of Cam Ward's biggest targets and biggest weapons. I think Chig is going to be one of the guys this offseason the Titans need to look at. Obviously, he'd be there for cheap. Yes, you want Gunnar Helm to have the tight end number 1 reps, but I feel like, in my opinion, to have that safety blanket for Cam Ward and to not worry about something else in the draft or free agency, I think if the price is right, bring Chig Okonkwo back in the right price, in my opinion. I'm also going to be talking about my mock draft before we get into NFL headlines. All right, so now we're going to do a mock draft. And I'm going to explain to y'all my draft process and what I think about this next year's draft. Obviously, this was made before today's Titans game. Titans did move up number 4. I'm currently picking at number 5. We'll do another mock draft next week. All right, so I traded down with the Saints. I traded number 5 for number 8. I got 2 second-round picks in return, one for this year and one for 2027. Obviously, I took a number 8, Carnell Tate from Ohio State. This is a safe option here for the Titans offense. Carnell Tate, which we talked a lot about, which I will be scouting in the next couple weeks, seems like it's a good wide receiver option for Cameron Ward. I'm going to talk about previously, as I talked about last episode, the Titans need to go get their number 1 receiver. Carnell Tate fits that, and he's fit that in the Ohio State's offense this season. So my second pick, I drafted Joshua Joseph from Tennessee. We need an edge position. Titans need to address that. I think they might address that through the draft unless they sign somebody in free agency. But at that moment, Titans need to address this through the draft. Then I go ahead and got us corner at still in the second round. I got our corner, Brandon Sissy from South Carolina. Titans need a solid corner. This would be a nice guy, either playing corner 2, either corner 3. Nice pickup early in the second round. Then later in the draft, these are me guys who be backups in the backup role. I got Terrion York from Texas A&M as a linebacker. Got Brian Parker II, who is a tackle from Duke. Got Draymond Capenhart, who is a defensive lineman. And I got Logan Jones, a center from Ohio State. And I got Desmond Reed from Pittsburgh. That is my official mock draft. But we will have a lot more mock drafts coming up really soon on the show. I'm very excited to bring them up for you guys. But that was my first Titans mock draft. Now, a big headline on the show is, should the Titans fan base be happy about Cam Ward's progress to close out the season? When you're going into this season, who thought Brian Callahan was going to be fired by week 6? Cameron Ward has had to work with a lot of change, especially on offense and especially with his play callers. Cameron Ward, who lost Calvin Ridley early on in the year due to hamstring injury, came back and broke his fibula later on after he just returned. Cameron Ward lost his big weapon in the offseason. Then going on, he had to play with guys who got drafted late in the rounds, who had emerged themselves as of number 1 receivers as Seymour DK and Alec Iamanair, for example. Van Jefferson, who in my mind, he's not a number 1 wide receiver, but he's a solid option for Cameron Ward. I think Titans fans should look at this season from Cam Ward and say this is a progress season. This is a lot to build forward to. Like I mentioned before, Cameron Ward is the first Titans rookie quarterback in franchise history who's had 3,000 yards. Cameron Ward has a lot to build. Cameron Ward has a lot of momentum. He has a lot of positivity. I think the Titans need to do a better job of developing around him. Now, it matters is right now who they're going to get a head coach. It matters is how they're going to develop around him. I think the last couple weeks, so like we mentioned, Cameron Ward in the last weeks has been having so much progression than weeks 1 through 9. Cameron Ward has looked significantly better with Brian Callahan. Cameron Ward has looked significantly better with Bo Hardegree and Mike McCoy as head coach, with Bo Hardegree and Mike McCoy as interim and as play caller than Brian Callahan here was. Cameron Ward has had to go through a lot of change this season, like losing wide receiver Calvin Ridley to his broken fibula and having to use Alec Iamanair and Seymour DK as your trusted number 1, number 2 receivers. He's also not had chemistry with any of these guys. A big thing here is Cameron Ward has had to work with a lot of guys who did not expect to play in a high leverage role this season. The Titans have had a lot of change from start 1 to this end here. what I know and what I look at is how Cameron Ward is progressed through the season on. Cam Ward is number one, taking the ball really better. He's handled these situations good. And number three, Cameron Ward has been efficient. He has a good mind. He's been starting to move out of the pocket way more in the last 7 weeks than he did weeks 1 through 9. So Cameron Ward's getting better week by week. It's going to be a work in progress, Titans fans. Be patient with him. But I believe Cameron Ward is going to be the true future of the Tennessee Titans franchise all day at the end of this day. Although it might be a while, and I'm totally okay with that. At this moment, I'm excited to see where he can grow into next year. I'm excited to see what we bring as head coach as well. All right, so Cam Ward averaged a time of 4.07 today. My thoughts and opinions on that is the receivers did not get opened as well today as we thought. Obviously, like I said before, rookies are going to have to take a lot of time to get used to. They need to make sure they get open better for Cameron Ward. But overall wise, though, Cam Ward did a pretty nice job. He had to get rid of the ball a little bit too much. I think the 4 sacks, the one of them was not on him, where he just ran right. Chase Young. I think the one sack that I look at is the Chase Young one when he lost that football. That's a tough play. That's a tough play holding on that football. All right, so we're talking about one guy on the Titans coaching staff I think they need to bring back for next season. That is Tennessee Titans coach Luke Stalker. He's been with the Tennessee Titans coaching staff since 2023. He was an offensive assistant, and then he got promoted to tight ends coach this last season. I think Luke Stalker's done a pretty good job adjusting from the start of the year to now. He's done a really good job adjusting to Tony Pollard's runs, especially. I think he's done a good job adjusting to Tony Pollard's runs, especially that Pollard had such a slow start to the year. He's done a really good job run blocking, done a really nice job pass blocking with his tight ends. His team has looked really, really better. His tight ends have looked really better blocking the ball. It's on tape, it's on film, but Luke Stalker's going to be one of those guys I think the Titans should retain next year. You can have arguments like Bo Hardegree could make sense as well. Mike McCoy might make sense as well, but I think Luke Stalker is the right and good answer. I want to say this before we talk about NFL headlines today, before we talk about some pretty big matchups heading into next week. Thank you, Titans fans, for riding out the whole season, from ups to downs. It's been such a blessing doing the show. We're not going to be stopping doing the show. We have a ton of things going on in the offseason, a ton of guests going on in the offseason. We're going to do a collab podcast in the offseason with a lot of other people. It's going to be fun. I'm very excited for you guys to see me grow. I'm growing one day at a time, but I'm so blessed to have the show. I'm so thankful for the fans. The fans were really loud today at Nissan Stadium. It was nice to see that. It felt like, especially in the first couple levels, it was actually pretty sold out, but you know, it's just nice to see the fans, interacting with the fans. I'll definitely miss that. It was the final game at home today. That's one of the things I'll miss at Nissan Stadium. And also to add into that, we have one more season into Nissan Stadium, which is pretty crazy. And then just the fact is, an era at Nissan's almost over. And now we're going to be starting a new era at the new Nissan Stadium right across the parking lot. I'm so excited for that. All right, let's talk about some NFL headlines here. We actually had some pretty cool and interesting games today. As I felt like these games were actually pretty interesting just because we got a lot of cool matchups to talk about next week. We're going to talk about some NFL games. I'm going to take just a handful of them. I'm not going to read them off today, but some of the impact ones today, we're going to bring them up. All right, the Jags beat the Colts. So the Jacksonville Jaguars hang on, and now next weekend they have a chance to clinch the AFC South. But the Titans play spoiler, though. That could change. 23-17 was the final. Trevor Lawrence had 263 rushing touchdowns on the ground today. This might have been Phillip Rivers' last game as a Colt in his NFL career. It was 17 for 30, 147, one touchdown. Jonathan Taylor had a touchdown on the ground as well. As you look at the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers, gave the Baltimore Ravens a late Christmas present as they went 13-6. Shedeur Sanders with a touchdown at 186. So now it's all up to next week for the division, Pittsburgh or the Baltimore Ravens. That'll be a matchup we're talking about on the show as well. The Tank Bowl is what we're going to call it with the Raiders and the Giants. Max Crosby is out for the year. As we found out, Max Crosby stormed out of the Raiders facility because the Raiders want to rest him. We found out yesterday he's going to have to get knee surgery, and Max Crosby's season is over. How about the Giants taking care of the Raiders 34-10? How about Jackson Dart having 2 touchdowns rushing on the ground? He did not turn over the ball, though. How about Geno Smith struggling today with 2 bad interceptions? Geno Smith did leave the game, though, due to an ankle injury. All right, so we're going to talk about our 4th game with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buffalo Bills. How about Jalen Hurts taking care of the football today? Saquon Barkley had 68 yards on the ground. How about the Eagles defense forcing a fumble? Jalen Phillips, who we got from Miami, on Josh Allen. Josh Allen, who did not have a touchdown or an interception today. But Brandon Cooks having his best game as a Bill in a long time with 4 catches, 101 yards in this game. All right, last game we're getting to. Saturday night with the Ravens and the Packers. How about Derrick Henry with 4 touchdowns and 216 yards? And how about Malik Willis with 288 passing yards and also taking 60 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns, 3 in total in this game? Yeah, both former Titans did go off. Malik Willis did get injured, though, so we have to be concerned about that. We'll talk about that on Friday and see how he's doing. But Derrick Henry, man, most rushes in his NFL career, 36 and 216, like I just mentioned as well. The Green Bay Packers cannot stop him, and now the Packers are going into the playoffs with a bad taste in their mouth as they play next week, and it's a rivalry game, but the Green Bay Packers are in that locked 7th seed at the moment. All right, so we're going to talk about some NFL playoffs, and then we're going to get out of the show and get to the week. We're going to talk again on Friday for Jacksonville. I'm talking about NFL playoffs. 6 teams are in for each conference. 4 are currently looking in at the moment. The Steelers, Ravens, Panthers, Bucks. They'll be playing next weekend. Those are some interesting matchups we've been talking about and we'll bring up on Friday. All right, Broncos are still number 1. Seattle is still number 1 from the NFC as they won today against Carolina. That could change if the Rams and the 49ers win tonight. They might have a shot. If Seattle loses next week, we'll see who wins and try to take that top spot. New England still at number 2, same with Chicago. Jacksonville number 3. Philly is still number 3. They just beat the Buffalo Bills. The Texans number 5, same with the 49ers number 5. That could change tonight. If the Bears or the 49ers, if either one of those teams wins, it'll match up a playoff seeding. If 49ers move up to number 2, the Chargers and the Rams are both number 6, both LA teams, and the Bills, Packers, both number 7. Steelers and Ravens are in the hunt. And numbers Bills, Packers, number 7. Those are the playoffs. Bills and Packers are still at number 7. Those are the playoffs at the moment. We'll find out the whole thing next Sunday, and I'll break it all down for y'all. All right, that's me from the Titan Report Podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning into today's show. Tough loss against the Saints, but we'll talk about the Jags and Titans next weekend in Jacksonville, Florida. See y'all Friday on the show.